Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Designated Designer, a podcast about design where curiosity is the compass, creativity lights the way, and transformation is just part of the trip. I'm your host, Jennifer Stank, your brand spirit guide for this wild, wonderful ride where we navigate our creative existence together in today's modern and conventional world. I am so thrilled to introduce you guys to a very special guest. Aaron Scott is the owner and operator of Roofing Army, and we got to collaborate on a project when I first started full-time going into my freelance business. He had reached out to me, and I got to do the full brand. We did the vehicle wrap together, and we did the stationery set, and it was an absolute hit. I had a blast with Aaron, super fun and creative, and the overall process was just amazing, and I'm so excited to kind of share our story with you guys today. So Aaron, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody, kind of give a little bit of a backstory on who you are and what you do?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me on. I've been in the home service realm for a very long time. I'd say about 15 or so years, not directly, but indirectly. I used to design and build websites for people in my family that are in home services, lawn fertilization, exterior painting, roofing, all that good stuff. And then I've always followed the branding world for a very long time. And I started building websites for these guys. And I'm like, every time I work with these guys, they blow up and they become successful running these big companies. So I thought to myself, I should get my builder's license and take the leap of faith and jump into it as well, which is what led me to you, and you helped us define and build our brand and what Roofing Army is today. So that's what led us here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the intro. We're just going to start back at the basics here. So I wanted to dial everything back and kind of start from the very beginning with you guys. And I wanted to ask you, what were you kind of looking for in a designer? You know, at the time when you were doing your research and you were looking to find me, what was the decision that made you choose me, obviously, so other designers can be aware of that? And what do you specifically look for in a designer, especially since you have a design background?
Yeah, so I've been a designer myself. I'd call myself a hack designer. I can throw some stuff together and it looks pretty decent. So I've been in the design world, Adobe, Creative Cloud, all that stuff for about 15 years. So I do feel like I have a special eye for design that maybe an average customer wouldn't, which is a testimony to your work, because if I have some Illustrator, Photoshop experience myself, that means that you're levels above me for me to make the investment with you and not try to do it myself, because a lot of people don't have that kind of experience. But I ended up ultimately finding you on Instagram on my Discover page. I probably follow 50 to 100 designers on Instagram of various design styles, and you popped up on my Discover page. I think it was one of your van wraps, and immediately, in which is a testimony to your work again, in the grid of a Discover page, there's probably 16 posts or 12 posts, whatever that grid is. And I saw one of your wraps and I was like, I think that is amazing. So I clicked your profile and I slid in your DMs, and it kind of went from there. So, you know, what I was looking for was just someone that could design that and encapsulate a brand on a van, which is a very short time span to get people's attention. The van's driving down the road very quick. You only have a couple seconds. Similar to Instagram, we live in an ADHD ridden world where you have 4 to 6 seconds to get someone's attention. So seeing that van on my timeline, I clicked your profile, sent you a DM, and you just had it, whatever it is. Because there's varying levels of design work. There's a million guys on Instagram that design home service wraps. There are a select handful that can do it the right way, and you are one of them.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And honestly, I was so stoked when you reached out because I love branding, and I was really excited when you kind of mentioned to me about what you were looking to do. So as soon as Aaron reached out to me, obviously I was very excited, did what I had to do with the initial onboarding stuff, and before we knew it, we were working together. had a pretty unique vision. So luckily for me, Aaron came to me and he already had this amazing name locked down, website URL. I remember those were the two things when you came to me. You were like, I got Roofing Army and roofingarmy.com. And I was like, say less. Because it's so hard. Like when you have certain clients that come to you, some of them don't want to rename. And I'm working with this one client right now. They didn't want to rename, but I knew the power that renaming could kind of bring that company, helping them stand out. A perfect example is they actually have a name very similar to another company that's also local. And there's only one difference in like the first three letters of the company name. So, and they're right next to each other on the keyboard, an A and an S. And a lot of people were just quickly typing in the name and then accidentally typing A instead of S. It was coming up with this other company. And this company has like really, really horrible reviews. And people were doing this like weird negative association because they weren't thinking that they made a typo. This company with poor reviews was popping up at the sake of a typo. And then they were thinking this other company that they were looking for was a bad company. So right there in and of itself, it just goes to show the power of naming. And when you came to me with this crystal clear name that was just nowhere else in the market, I was so excited. You had some ideas and we went into the discovery phase. At this time, I was actually doing the discovery phase a little bit different than I do it currently. So I had a little bit of a different process going on, but we had 3 different ideas that we kind of presented. All of them were really fun. And inevitably, we ended up going with this super adorable, super cute ant mascot. And the whole entire reason behind that was because I start thinking about the name Roofing Army, and we're going back to the name. And I start thinking about army, how can I portray this? Immediately, the first thing that comes to mind is like an army dude carrying a ladder or something. And that was kind of my first idea. But then I start thinking a little bit outside the box and I start thinking about these army ants. And I thought that was a really unique take. I really haven't seen an ant mascot like anywhere. And you guys were just so open and receptive to it and let me essentially run wild. That was just the most incredible process ever. And I will put the picture of the brand somewhere on the screen when I go through and edit this to show you guys. But it ended up becoming this kind of pinnacle for people to put a face to the name, go through and do all of the fun branding stuff. So do you want to share a little bit about how you felt with the overall process from discovery to creation to the actual brand package in the end and how those steps were kind of overall handled?
Yeah, absolutely. After the point of initially reaching out, process was smooth, and I think we had hopped on a couple Zoom meetings or Google Meets and paid the deposit, and then we just went over ideas, and the whole entire process was more of a friendly conversation for, I would say, almost every one of our meetings. It was just kind of two friends hanging out and talking design, which was cool, and I really appreciated. So I think you went on your way and you started putting together a mood board. You had 3 completely different vibes. And going back to what you said about the ants, that was probably the most unlikely decision. Because you think army, you think macho roofing guy, maybe he's running with a ladder or a nail gun or whatever. And I was 99% in, that's the way we were going. And then you had sent over the 3 mood board ideas, and we were like, maybe we should explore this ant thing because it's cute and receptive, and I think people will take a liking to it. And to my surprise, that's the direction we went with. But as far as the process went, it was just super easy breezy. I think people need to practice patience in today's age because design of this quality takes time. And everyone thinks, and I'm sure you get it, is, oh, well, I can design this in 2 seconds with ChatGPT or this or that. And it's like, that's great. And I'm glad that you can do that. But is it vectorized? Can you put it on stuff? It's miles apart quality wise. And I think what a lot of people should do is go ahead and design something on ChatGPT, upload it to Adobe Illustrator, and see if there's anchor points, and you can edit it. And because when you sent the design files for Roofing Army and you open that file up and click the anchor point tool, you had a million anchor points. And that's when you know someone is taking very high attention to detail. So I would urge people, a good brand project will take a few months and you have to be patient. And in the end, it's worth it because ultimately it equates to millions of dollars in revenue. You don't want to rush it or chat GPT your brand.
Exactly. Absolutely. So well said. And just to springboard off of that a little bit, do you want to talk about what it was like to receive the final file package in the end? You know, was there ever a point where you felt like you didn't have something that you needed, or was it always kind of a situation where you felt like you had most of the tools that you needed to carry your brand across all of your other channels?
I think that you may know the answer to that question because I haven't bugged you since, unless it's just a friendly follow up to see how each other's doing. But that the design or the delivery package of all the files, it's everything that you could ask for. So, I mean, there's all black and white versions of the logo, badge, no badge, mascot, no mascot, icons, little favicons for the website where it's just the letter R. So, I mean, every single file format needed for any kind of marketing medium was provided, and I haven't had to ask you for anything.
I know you honestly did so well with carrying the brand across everything too, because I actually did not design the apparel, but because Aaron has enough of a design background and had all of the tools necessary, he did an absolutely stellar job. He went ahead. So we did the brand together. We did the vehicle wrap and the stationery. And then you kind of went ahead. You went and you put together the yard signs and these super fun mission mints that I would love for you to talk about.
Yeah, so that's how you know that a brand guideline and package is very well built, is where you should be able to take a brand identity or package, hand it to a designer that never worked on the brand, and they're able to produce a high quality piece of work. So that's essentially what I did. I have a good amount of design background myself, and I was able to take everything you built and design stuff that I feel like is a very high level of work. And it wasn't because of anything that I did. Every time I designed something, I'm like, damn, that looks really good. But it was because of Jennifer, not because of me. But with that, we were able to design these full print shirts. I actually pulled the camo pattern out of the badge that you designed, which is in there. It's in this, you did like a camo stroke on the badge. So I was able to pull that out and then duplicate it a bunch of times. And that's used on the collars, and it's just, and then on the van, you put the orange homes on
I
the.
didn't know you had the homes on the bottom. Oh my God, that looks so good.
So it was just, I designed it, this is a pretty badass shirt, I would say. I designed it in like 2 minutes, but it's because of the assets that you provided us. And same with, I think you had mentioned a client hasn't gone this far, but I designed flexible packaging with your brand guideline called Mission Mints. And it's just something that we leave the homeowners. And I swear every single sales meeting that I have with a homeowner, you have different types of homeowners. Some are super outgoing, some are very closed off. And you're like, this guy's very dry. He definitely wants me out of his house, right? The second I give them, hey, here's your mission mints, they laugh every time and they love it. So it's a great icebreaker, and it all goes back to the brand guideline and the storytelling. And kudos to you, because everything on my end has been extremely easy to put together for this brand because of what you gave us.
That's amazing to hear. And honestly, that to me is me getting to live my why. I never want a client to feel like they're lost after they receive their package, or that they're confused, or they might not have something. So to hear that you had such an incredible experience post project is just the most amazing thing for me. I want to talk about what you experienced in your first year in business. Like, I loved on the phone how you were saying about competing with the other roofing companies in Michigan. You're going for that higher price. and you're still landing the jobs, and how the branding kind of impacts that?
Yeah, so it was noticeable, absolutely. Like I said, I've been in the home service realm for a long time. I've actually designed a couple brands for my dad and this and that, nowhere on your level, but this one was different. So we launched the brand. We didn't, we're in Michigan, so we're in a 30 to 40 week roofing season, which means we had to wait until winter passed. We launched in March of this past year, and we started going, we were getting appointments right away. They saw the brand and it was so well put together, it looked established. I think a lot of people go into home services and they've got a Times New Roman, Bob's Roofing type of situation, and the guy's starving for leads. We did not experience that at all. It was like right away, we had reputability without ever installing a roof. So I would go out on estimates and people would say, and we were non-existent, one van on the road, 0 years in business. I had customers even in March, April. Oh yeah, I see you guys everywhere. And I'm like, okay. Oh yeah, I've seen you guys around for the last 5 or 10 years. So it was like, we built a brand that already had community relevance and it didn't. So that was interesting. And then I ended up going into a post office to check. I have a P.O. box. So I was going to check my mail. A guy walked in. This was sometime this summer. And he's like, man, I see your guys' vans everywhere. And we only had, I think, 1 or 2 vans on the road. So that was pretty cool because, the way he said it was like, we had 20, 30 vans on the road. But it was like the image of the wrap just gets burnt into your brain where you think that you're seeing 20 trucks when it could just be one.
That's incredible. And honestly, I never really got to hear these kinds of stories. I do love to follow up with clients, but sometimes they're busy. They don't really have time to fill me in on a lot of the post brand impact. And when you gave me that call that one day and you filled me in on that, I was just absolutely astonished that it was having that kind of impact so soon. Especially to the point where it's like they think you have 20 to 30 trucks and you only have 1 or 2. I feel like that is the goal of a true proper brand, is if you can convince people you've been in business for longer than you have been and that you have more of a presence than you do currently have. I feel like there's nothing left to do but win at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't even have to really push ourselves that hard. It was like the brand sold itself, and which kind of leads into we were getting money for jobs that companies that only have 10 plus years in the roofing industry get. Because I think the ultimate goal is to get, 40, 50% gross profit margins on a job, which a lot of people start off, they kind of for lack of better words, lower their pants on pricing a little bit to try to start building a reputation. We were getting big margin right away because of the brand, because I was able to lay down our marketing material with this so well built brand that they felt comfortable right away handing us a check for $20,000. So
That's crazy. I mean, what was that like the first time you kind of just closed a job and didn't have to work that hard for it? How did that feel?
we were giggling kind of like little schoolgirls. You go pitch a job and they're like, oh yeah, I want to move forward on the spot, and it's because of this brand we put together, and they write us a check for 10, 15, $20,000. In the roofing world, our average ticket is 12.5. So I think our first sale was right around 11,000, and we were like giggling like little girls. So
Wow.
it was pretty neat.
That's amazing. And honestly, it makes me so happy to hear that you're kind of having that experience. Not only do I want your target audience to gravitate towards your brand, but my mission is to really have the owners themselves embrace the brand and love the brand just as much as the audience. My biggest thing when I start designing is I talk to a lot of business owners that they kind of are embarrassed to like post on social media or drive their truck up to a job site, like if they have a Times New Roman, Bob's Roofing, or whatever. I do talk to a lot of clients these days that they're kind of like, yeah, I'm not really like putting myself out there as much, or I'm not posting because I'm kind of embarrassed of the graphics that I have or the look that I have. But to see the empowerment that this brand brought you guys, that you could just walk up to a home in total confidence and be able to sell these jobs. I mean, that in and of itself, not only is the brand doing heavy lifting, but the brand is empowering you to have confidence. Your confidence is empowering the customer to work with you. And I think that's just the coolest thing.
And it's not just in my business life, but in my personal life as well. Because I have had my personal pickup truck parked for over a couple months. I daily drive the Roofing Army van to the gym, to the grocery store, and I'm like one of those guys that you have the guys that are obsessed with their, 67 Mustang or whatever, and they hop out and they're turning around staring at their car while they're walking into the grocery store. I do that with the Roofing Army van. So that's when you know that you fell in love with the brand. Because I haven't seen my personal pickup truck in a few months. It's not on the road. I'm just driving the van around.
That's literally, honestly, one of the nicest compliments I've ever gotten about my business. That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk some numbers. When you kind of got everything up and running, obviously you had a business plan together of, what you were hoping to achieve, what you were hoping to earn in the first year in business. Did the brand help you meet your expectations, or did you end up exceeding them?
I think we met or exceeded them for sure. We didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. We launched this with kind of my partner, more particularly. He's not from the home service world at all, so he kept just telling me that he'll be a big believer when we sell one roof. He's like, I just want to see one roof sold. I just want to see one roof sold. So now we're about 6 months in. I want to say we really kicked off April 1st, and it is October 10th. So we're like 6-7 months in. We have probably installed 50 to 70 roofs this year. So he was telling me, I want to see one get sold. So now when I text him, I go, are you a believer yet? And we are approaching, I think, 1 or 2 roofs away from hitting $1 million first year, which I think is pretty crazy for a startup with no experience in this area. And it's through and through, it's the brand. There's a ton of roof. I go on the road. There is so much competition in roofing in Metro Detroit. And every time I hop in the car, I can run up to the gas station real quick. I see 3 different roofing companies I've never seen before. So I think to pull $1 million out of the Metro Detroit market first year with the level of competition that's here, I think it's a giant success.
That's incredible to hear. Wow. Awesome. Now I wanted to ask you about some of the other businesses that you run, because I do know that you're a part of some other businesses. I know that your family has kind of been in the business of business for God knows how long. And I wanted to ask you, watching those businesses kind of grow over a period of time, and, the growth, however much percentage of growth each year, how do those businesses compare with Roofing Army? Did you see like a huge difference between year one with some of the other businesses versus year one with Roofing Army and recognition and things like that?
Yeah, I would say so. And my older brother Brian, he owns a very successful exterior painting company in Metro Detroit. So I think last year they did 10 or 11 million. But that was year 20 or 21 for him. So me and him talk on the phone 3 or 4 times a day, and he'll call me and he'll joke with me and say, Roofing Army is the most successful startup I've ever seen. I didn't do $1 million my first year. So I think they're big now, but they were slower to grow. I have pretty high confidence that we should double year over year in Roofing Army. I think our goal for next year is 2 to 3 million. And my brother's companies, they didn't hit those numbers for, I would say, 4 or 5 years in. And I think we should do that year too. So I think it goes right back to the brand.
Do you think that there's anything, I mean, aside from the visuals, do you think that there's anything in the messaging as well? Because I do want to talk a little bit about your super fun tagline that we did together. And for anybody that's listening, we ended up coming up with Roofing Army, protecting your colony one roof at a time. And this messaging was intentional. I was playing off of that idea of ants and ants being in a colony, that your family can be looked at as a colony to kind of tie in this ant imagery. And then obviously one roof at a time is what you do. Do you feel like some of the messaging also had an impact in the overall engagement with the brand?
Yeah, I definitely would because I think what homeowners are looking for nowadays is I've had people when I'm out on the sales floor in their homes and stuff, they don't want the biggest company around to come give them a quote because they know that comes at a high cost. They want that homegrown family local feel and having that tagline and kind of pushing ourselves as a local brand, they feel more comfortable with us. So not only is it the storytelling, the brand, but it's the sales pitch as well. Just them knowing that we're local, that our family's here, that we're a family brand, and it's definitely helped us with sales and people just feeling comfortable because roofs are expensive, power washing and those company, power washing average tickets probably 500 to 700 bucks, and roofing you're 10 to 20,000. So it's a little bit hard of a sale because it's a big investment. So you want to make them feel comfortable, and I think the brand with that tagline is making them feel comfortable to write us a check of that amount. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I want to segue really quick over to the site because I know that you poured a lot of heart and soul into the website. And honestly, when I saw it, I was blown away. You do have a little bit of a background in site design, and I was happy that you were able to kind of run wild with it. What kind of traffic were you seeing? Like, as far as all of the different parts of collateral, for any curious business owners out there, what kind of return on investment are you seeing, like from the vehicle wrap to your presence in the community to your site? What would you say, like how are they all kind of broken apart as far as generating like leads?
Yeah, so I would say one of the most important things is going to be the vehicle wrap because it's all about perception. And it kind of goes back to what I said when people see, oh, we see you guys everywhere. That's like a little validation in their head that it like checks a box for them. They see the logo, the brand on the road actually doing work. So, okay, people are obviously hiring them and feel comfortable with them. So it's like a little social reputation or validation for them. As far as the return goes, we spent a few $1,000s on the whole brand package to generate $1 million. I don't know what the math is on that, but I think we got like over 1,000% return or something crazy like that. So it was worth it in every aspect of the word. I'd say the van wrap drives most of the leads. The website captures the online bookings.
I really just wanted to bring an awareness to how these things kind of tend to work together. The van wrap people are going to see in the community. They're going to be seeing it on the road, driving to job sites, just like you said. And then at a certain point, they're going to want to get onto your website. The website catches the traffic from the vehicle wrap, and then that's the conversion tool. And I think that some business owners don't really think about how all the pieces tend to work together. But when you hire a capable designer that knows how all of these pieces work together and provides a cohesive brand package where every touch point can feel consistent across the board, that when somebody's moving from seeing you on the road to typing in your website online to learning about you and filling out your form, having you show up wearing your shirt, carrying the mission mints, the vans parked on the street, all of these things start to play together to really give you that impact. Those people that are saying, we see you everywhere and, we see your trucks everywhere, and being willing to kind of accept that job. I think it's super important for business owners just to know you really have to focus on far more than just a business card or just a wrap.
Yeah, and SEO, hot term, right? That's been a hot term since the net era came about. I think the new SEO is the being everywhere. It's not just Google organic. I think SEO kind of expands beyond the internet now. I think it's the matching shirts, the van wraps, the websites, the print marketing, the yard signs, the business card. every when I go on a sales meeting, I have numerous people compliment on the shirt, saying I would stand out in a crowd, that's for sure, or that's a bright shirt. They get blown away by the branding. So constant compliments. I hand them a die cut business card in the shape of the badge, and it's like almost like compounding interest. Like every one more thing that they see with a synergistic brand is like a little tally of making the decision to going with your company.
Absolutely. And talking about die cut, I would actually love if you could just show everybody the super fun yard signs that you did that are in a die cut shape to show business owners kind of how versatile these brands can be.
Absolutely, yeah. So I literally didn't even have to design the yard sign because you did it for us. So I just took the badge you designed, had corrugated plastic die cut out. So new roof by Roofing Army, all die cut out, and they stand out. In the world of rectangular 18 by 24-inch yard signs, we've got this badass badge, and it's like a symbol of like almost like a security company, like their home is now defended by Roofing Army. So that was really cool. And then with it, we got the little mini die cut business cards. So it goes back to, having that synergistic brand. I show up and punch them in the face with this really loud shirt. And then I hand them the die cut business card. I put the die cut yard sign in their front yard, and it's just cohesive.
That's so incredible. And I actually really did want to mention the point. I love that you feel like it's kind of like a defending the home thing, because when we started with this whole thing, obviously Aaron came to me with Roofing Army, and we decided to pursue this super fun, adorable, friendly, family oriented character. But in that, I didn't want to lose sight of the fact that this is Roofing Army. One of the things that you had mentioned to me early on when we start working together was, I want people to feel like when we roll up to a job site, an army's pouring out of the truck, and I never lost sight of that. When you said that, I pay really close attention in that early stage of you describing your vision to me. And I'm really careful about making sure that I don't miss anything. And that was one of those things that just stuck in my head the whole time that I was creating. And when it came time to actually put the whole brand together, I created this really fun, lovable character. We did the ant character. I have the army helmet and the boots. We did this twig stick ladder to kind of make it feel more realistic to an ant, and a little different, a little unique. But in all of that fun and play, I still wanted an element to be strong and bold and symbolize that army side of your whole vision. And in doing that, I thought it would be so cool to create this badge to go alongside of it, where it's this badge of honor. It's kind of like the badge that people in the army wear. And now it can be this symbol of strength and protection. Not only this family friendly, fun loving character, but now you have this badge to go along with it that shows this protection and defense and strength. And together, I feel like that truly is just what makes you stand apart from the rest.
Oh, I totally agree because we were able to check both boxes of strong, almost, like an army. We're defending them, but also approachable and friendly. So, pull up in I pull up in a driveway for a roof inspection, and I'll have a dad outside with his kid, and they're pointing at the little ant mascot, smiling and all excited. So I think we checked both the boxes very well with the brand. And a testament to that, which I forgot to mention earlier, and I don't know if I've told you yet, but we have people wanting, when we weren't trying to sell this as a franchise, we have people wanting to open franchises for Roofing Army. So, congrats to you and to us. It's looking like we're going to have a location opening in Ohio, spring of 2026. And
My God,
this
that's
guy,
amazing.
he saw the brands, the website. We showed him our CRM. We gave him a shirt, yard sign, and this guy could easily just go start another roofing company, but he wants to launch Roofing Army in Ohio. So very exciting, and I would say that goes back to having a strong brand because people see it and they like it, and instead of starting their own, they just want to take on what we've created.
Oh my God. Okay, for everybody listening, this is the first time that I heard this. Wow, that I need a second to process. That's incredible. I have been designing brands full time since like 2023. It's 2025. I've been doing this 2 years full time. And to see even just me starting on my own, like I'm not in this 10 years. I'm not in this 20 years. I'm not doing this 25 years like a lot of these large home service companies that are out there that you've seen. They're out there forever. So this is kind of all new to me. And I really wanted to just open myself and learn about what makes a brand strong, learn what it is that gravitates people towards it. And to see that one of the first brands, frankly, that I've ever created on my own, performing this way just lights a fire in me that I never knew possible. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, we're really excited. And I think we have one other person that is interested in opening possibly in Texas. So that one's still in conversation, but Ohio is for sure moving forward. So huge for us and for you, because I never went into this thinking that we would have franchise owners, but here we are.
Wow, that's incredible. So for any business owner listening, if franchising excites you, definitely hire a capable designer. Make sure that you get somebody that knows what they're doing, every touch point, how it's going to make people feel. Actually, I just had a really wonderful conversation. I'm a part of a BNI chapter now. So I recently joined BNI as my business, just to give you a little bit of a backstory. Since we worked together over the course of the next year, my business really started to grow and thrive. And I got to a point where I was ready to start joining local chambers like Chamber of Commerce. And I joined a BNI group, and I just had a conversation yesterday with a growth coach that's a part of the BNI chapter as a one-on-one. And we had this amazing conversation about how, because he has an awareness of branding too, and how there's kind of a spatial awareness of branding, just the same as you would walk into a grocery store. And a grocery store is a perfect example of how a brand should function. Everything in a grocery store is so intentionally designed. The milk and the eggs are at the back. The display is out front with the produce and the flowers and the trinkets and the gifts and things like that. It is so intentional, the way that a grocery store is laid out, that they know exactly the path, the route that most people are going to take, and each product, each item, each type of whatever is in a specific spot. And branding really is no different. Like when somebody goes into a grocery store, how do you want them to feel? And we were actually talking about the difference between like a Wegmans and a Weiss, and they even have totally different lighting. So if you go into a Weiss, it's this bright fluorescent, really like abrasive lighting. But if you go into a Wegmans, it's this low light, it's soft, it's warm, it's cozy, and it makes you feel different. Like you go into a Weiss and it's like blinding, but then you go into a Wegmans and it's like a living room. And that right there, if I had to boil it down, that's the core. And I feel like Roofing Army just does that so well with the way that we did the messaging, the tagline, protecting your colony one roof at a time. The character is so friendly. He's got a smile on his face and the work gloves and everything like that. Like, I know you were super hell-bent on the army guy with the ladder initially, like running at you, but I'm so glad that you guys chose to go with Scout. He's just the cutest character, and I think that it's going to take you guys to the next level. I'm glad that you made the decision. I don't think that a brand, if we pursued the other guy, the roofing, runner guy, the army military guy, I don't think it would have been bad, but I don't think that you guys would have seen the same impact that you're seeing right now.
Yeah, we get complimented a lot on the ant when I pull up in driveways. Oh, I love the army ant and this and that. So even people at Home Depot, I pulled into a Home Depot the other day, and I had a couple Home Depot employees commenting on it. Actually funny, I'll roll into a roofing supplier, and it's almost like I'm getting dirty looks by the other roofers that are there. They're there in their white pickup trucks or their peel and stick vinyl, and I roll up in the Roofing Army van, and it's almost like I get side-eyed, like they're all staring at me like, who the hell is this guy? So and my sales rep over there, we talk quite frequently. He says he has other roofers always asking where the hell we came from. So that's I think that's a sign of success as well.
Absolutely. And I did just want to touch on that initially when we did the brand discovery, you really wanted to go with like the army running guy initially, but then you guys chose not to. And I want to bring this up for any possible business owner out there that's looking to invest in branding, because I think a lot of business owners are under this stigma that they need to love the brand. But in this case, you really wanted to go with this army guy initially, and then we chose the ant character, and that was not really like the first choice. That's not something you would have chosen. But I think that you and your partner that were in this, you both had an awareness of what this ant character can do. And even though the ant wasn't your favorite, you knew what it was capable of and chose that anyway. And I really want to just make that point to business owners. It's not what you like, it's what's going to resonate with your audience. And that's really important. And you need to be aware of that in the decision making. I cannot stress that enough.
I totally agree. We wouldn't have picked the ant off first rip. I think people that go into a branding project, they hinge their decision too much on personal interest and what they like. And you're not selling to yourself, you're selling to the homeowner, which a lot of the times the decision maker in the house, at least from my experience, has been the wife. And if the wife feels comfortable with you and your pitch, a lot of the times, at least in my household as well. So you don't want this big macho man threatening looking brand, which is, I think, the road we were initially going to go down. So I'm glad that you took us down the other fork of the road, which was approachable and friendly. So I urge people as well, if you're going into a branding project, delete all of the things that you like out of your brain. You have to be receptive and open.
Awesome. Absolutely. Very well said. Is there anything else that like you wanted to touch on before we wrap everything up?
I could add back, you were talking about company names that were very similar, where one person was like, the names were so similar that the one brand was getting, like, the one has bad reviews and the other one, you remember?
Yeah.
So my nephew Blake, who you were working with for a second, he has that exact problem, real world problem. There's a green X and there's a green Nix, and he actually gets 1-star reviews on behalf of that other company. So that's a
Oh, wow.
real world scenario where I see that happening in my personal life. So my nephew's, his company is Green X, and there's a pest control company called Green X, two different businesses entirely. But he gets 1-star reviews a couple times a month saying, Green X did this and that and poisoned my dog or whatever, and that's not even his company. So I urge people that, I know you're married to your company name that you've had for 10 to 15 years, but it may be in your best interest to do something different, that you Google it and there is no mistake that they found the right company.
Exactly. Very well said. And I'm really glad that you brought that point up, because I don't think a lot of business owners kind of think of it that way. Because when I brought it up, like in my discovery call, I kind of do a diagnosis. I actually start acting like a doctor more than a designer, where I will go in and analyze everything. I do the Google search, I look into the SEO, I look into websites, social media, this, that, the other thing, local competition. I loved one of the first reels that I made when I was concepting Roofing Army. I did this really fun reel where it was like, how do you stand out in a crowded market? It was like one of the first reels I ever created. And I looked into your competition in your market, all like surrounding you. And it was all of this grays, reds, blues, macho, pit bulls, things like that. Pit bulls with capes. Like, it was so weird. But I put them all around. And then I found this little ant character with the leaf. And it was the browns and the oranges and the greens. And it stood out so much from everything else. And it's like, you really have to just be aware to kind of do this deep dive, to look into that stuff. And when I found that problem with the client that I'm working with right now, I let them know, at the sake of a typo, people are thinking that you're a different company that has poor reviews. At the sake of a typo, right now we have the opportunity to address that and correct it so it doesn't have to weigh you down in the future. But sometimes, like, business owners really are. They're attached to their name. It's been with them for 10, 15 years. It feels like a baby to them and they don't want to let go. But don't let that cloud your judgment. Don't let that attachment, just because you've had it forever, weigh you down from what you're meant to achieve. Just the same as like I experience it with my design software. I'll have a design software, like a project management software I've been using for a year, and I have all of my records, I have all of this loaded in. And if I were to migrate software, that's like a whole pain in the ass migration process. And I notice sometimes I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to change, even though I know that there's a better software out there. I'm not going to change because I've been using this forever. But in the last year, I learned you got to change. And I bit the bullet and I went ahead and migrated softwares and, paid the price of having to spend all that time. But the amount of time it saved me in the end was worth the amount of time that I spent. And it's the same when it comes to naming.
I agree. And to add to that, my brother's painting company was called Action Painting. They were doing $2 or $3 million a year. He decided to change the name entirely, rebrand entirely, and now they do about 10. So it's okay to rename and take the leap of faith because it might be the best thing you've ever done for yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for being willing to be on the podcast and share our story with my audience. It was absolutely amazing getting to connect with you again and catch up and see how Roofing Army and our little scout mascot is performing. Would you like to tell anybody that's listening where they can find you online, social media, if they wanted to connect with you, if there's anybody curious about being a part of Roofing Army, how they would get in touch with you?
Yeah, most people just contact us through roofingarmy.com, our contact form, or giving us a call. We're still a pretty small team, so if you called Roofing Army, you'd probably end up getting me on the other end of the phone. So, yeah, they can reach me that way.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and I will catch everybody in next week's episode. Bye.